Bienvenue, hello, and welcome. I am back with another book. Oui, another book. And just because we seem to be gaining a reputation as the presenter who brings sexy books, I'm doing something completely different to give you a whiplash. Yes, I do not want to be pigeonholed into a box. So, what is the book that we are doing? We are doing The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. Unfortunately, it has a lot of green on the cover, as you could imagine, but it's got to play with my green screen. Before we get started with The Wind in the Willows, remember, we have our shop, we have books, we have writing services, we have all sorts of merchandise things and artistic things and photo things on our Redbubble shops. It is so much. You should just go and have a look. Just go and have a look. I guarantee you will find something that you like. There is so much. Anyway, that is that. And for our book is The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. It is a very little book. It is a children's book. I read this when I was a child. In fact, this was my absolute more favorite story as a child. I originally watched it with little puppets. That was so cute, and it had a deeply detrimental effect on my sense of aesthetics. My aesthetics have a tendency to fall somewhat Edwardian. My ideal is Ratty's little riverfront home. I would love to have Ratty's little riverfront home. Probably not actually on the riverfront because it is floodings, but a gorgeous little cottage like Ratty has. Ratty is also the one that writes the poetry. So The Wind in the Willows. What is it about? The Wind in the Willows is really the story of approximately a year in the lives of 4 little animals. The Molly, who is the first one we meet, he is doing his spring cleaning and he gets tired of his spring cleaning and he goes out into the sunshine for a walk, and he meets our second character, the rat, the water rat, who is called Ratty. So there is Ratty, there is Molly. The third person that they meet. Oh, before we get on to the third person, Ratty loves 3 things: writing poetry, messing about in boats, and picnics. And one thing that he does is, the first thing that he does is he invites the Molly onto his boat and to go on a picnic. Because he always goes on picnics. So, the mole ends up moving into the Ratty's little house. We will talk about this. The third friend that they meet is Toad. Toad is the most distinguished member of their group. He has the manor house. He comes from a long line, the Toads of Toad Hall. And he is a playboy sort of character. It's actually a little difficult to call him a playboy because I will explain in a little bit. The fourth member, before we get to the fourth member, Toady loves anything new. He is a mad for photography. He has a gypsy cat that he thinks he's going to ride around until it gets wrecked by a motor car, and that becomes a big craze for the book, is a motor car. He usually dumps his interest very, very quickly. So the Ratty was teaching him to row. He got bored and he moved on to something else. I think Toady has ADHD. I think he has an executive functioning problem. But, is adorable. Toady is adorable. And the first member of the group is old Mr. Badger. Now, Badger is not called Badgery. Badger is Mr. Badger because he is the oldest member. He is actually a friend of Toad's father. So he is more their father's age. And they encounter Badger properly. We see him briefly at the picnic but he does not like, Badger does not like company. We meet Mr. Badger when Molly and Ratty get lost in the wild wood. In the wild wood, there are the baddies of the story, the weasels. The weasels are the baddies of the story. Because weasels will eat Ratties and Mollies and Toadies. So it makes sense that weasels are going to be the baddie, but weasels are scared of Mr. Badger. Mr. Badger is the big, fierce animal who lives in the middle of the wildwood. He's not a field animal. He is not a riverbank animal. He is a wild wooder. So that gets him respect as well. And ultimately, the entire story is just these four friends having adventures. The big complication happens when Toady's mania for motorcars results in him finally stealing a motorcar and then being arrested and sentenced to prison. And then escaping, and the weasels having taken over his home, and them having to get back Toad Hall from the weasels. It is a very simple story. There are lots and lots of other little things in there. So this book was written or published in 1908. It's very old. So when I say my aesthetic was Edwardian, I do mean it is genuine Edwardian. The author wrote 6 books, but really Kenneth Grahame's reputation, he was a Scottish author, rests on The Wind in the Willows. This is the beloved book. He was a banker for most of his life. He is retired due to ill health or was fired and pensioned off for being rude to someone. Fancy that, a Scottish person being rude to someone. But he retired to the riverbank, literally to the riverbank along the River Thames, with a cottage on the River Thames with his wife and his son. His son was 8 years old when this book was published, and it is believed the stories started out as stories that Kenneth Grahame taught his son. His son was blind in one eye and at ill health. He died at 20 in what was officially described as a railway accident, but it is believed it was deliberate. He was only 20. At 8, he was the inspiration for Kenneth Grahame to tell his riverbank stories. And when I said that Toady would, if we are to believe Toady is an adult, he would look like he has serious executive function problems. Toady is his son, who was a little boy. Toady makes a lot more sense when you realize Toady is about 8. But that is part of the reason that this book is so engaging for children. I read this as a child. Part of the reason my stories gravitated to things with fluffy animals in, as opposed to things with children in. I hated books with children in. Absolutely hated them. Because I could not relate to children. I did not relate very well to as the other children. As a gifted child, I found them deeply confusing and difficult to talk to. I spent a lot of time as a child with my grandfather, so I was used to talking to someone who was 65 years older than me. That is a very big difference to other 5-year-olds. So I had a tendency to enjoy stories that contained animals, and the beauty of animals is that these animals don't have like jobs and adult responsibilities. They are all Edwardian gentlemen of leisure. Sure, Toady has Toadol, but Ratty doesn't have to do anything. Molly doesn't have to do anything. Mr. Badger does not have to do anything. These are gentlemen of leisure, as the author Kenneth Grahame became after he was fired or retired from the bank. A gentleman of leisure. Actually, he lived for quite a long time. After that, he lived up until into the 1930s. He never wrote a sequel to Wind in the Willows, in spite of the fact that Wind in the Willows was immensely popular. This is a book that has always been popular. He did not write a sequel. So his entire reputation rests on a single story. Because this is a story from the early 20th century, there is one female character. The jailer's daughter. She's a very good character. She is the one who helps Toady escape from prison by dressing him up as a washerwoman. Mais this really reflects many male writers, and even, to be honest, a lot of the female writers, you do see more female characters, but we still have that issue now with children's novels, that the default is male, not female. And that female representation in books is still not at 50-50. This one is one minor character in entire book. So it is not great. But it's actually, I think, one more character than is in The Hobbit. And there's only one fewer female characters than is in... okay, there are three. Wow. Big whoop. 3 female characters in Lord of the Rings. So, you can sort of see the issue. Fortunately, as a child, it did not really bother me. They were small fluffy animals. I was not seeking to identify 2 small fluffy animals in that way to see myself. I accepted this is Mr. Mole, Mr. Rat, and Mr. Badger, and Mr. Toad. Also in the puppet version, the judge is a woman, who sentences Toady to 20 years in prison. So in my head, reading this, the judge was a woman. It just was. But, the other thing is, with that very large cast of characters, very male cast of characters, and the fact that Molly starts to live with Ratty for the bulk of the novel. Yeah, I think that perhaps Molly and Ratty, little bit. We never see any female counterparts. We never hear any female counterparts. When the rat is tempted away by the seafaring rat, the water rat is tempted, oh, would you like to come and see the world? You should see the world. It is by another male rat, and Molly is what pulls him out of the spell. Even the missing child, Portly, the otter boy, is a boy in the Piper at the Gates of Dawn, which I believe there is a rock album that is called Piper at the Gates of Dawn, and I want to say a Pink Floyd or something. I will check that. But which is directly related to this book. So it really is very male. It is a very male world. And because it is such a male world, it does make me wonder exactly as an adult how you may read some of these intense emotional relationships, even if we do not see them as partners. These are very, very, the intense friendship between the mole and the rat is a cornerstone of what makes this a very readable, engaging novel. These are great friends. It is a quartet of great friends. They all come from different backgrounds. They all come from different, they are different species. So you can read this as a great book of harmony, the little animals working together in spite of being different species, different social structure, different age. So I would highly recommend that if you have not ever read this, read this, Wind in the Willows. I will actually put a link. I think you can find the video of the puppet versions that I enjoyed as a child. Is also on YouTube. I will find it and put a link down below about that too. So, au revoir. I hope that you have enjoyed this. If you have not read Wind in the Willows, go read it. If you have read Wind in the Willows, why don't you leave a comment and tell me what you think of my absolute favorite book as a child. So, au revoir, and I will bring you another book another time. If you would like to support this channel, come across to the Black Cockie Press website, www.blackcockiepress.com.au, where you will find books and other writing services to help with your writing.